your focus. 12 common distractions and how to reclaim your focus. You're greatly welcome, awesome people, to today's class. It's gonna be a blast. Today's class will be so in-depth, it will be so engaging. I believe you're set and you're good to go. You're good to learn, you're good to be impacted, and you're good to be empowered. You're highly welcome. You're highly welcome to today's class. And please, I want you to take your time, maybe the next 30 seconds, where we will take a short music break before we take our mantra. I need you to pick up your biros, get your writing materials, get your jotters like mine. Okay, get your jotters, because today's class is going to be very interesting, very engaging. Call your friends, call your loved ones. It's time to reclaim our focus. It's time to actually live beyond the distractions. You're highly welcome to today's class. Let's take the mantra before we proceed. It's just a reminder never to take ourselves for granted. It's a reminder that we are actually uncommon, and is an excerpt from the book written by Thomas Paine titled Common Sense. This book was written in 1776. So good people, let's take it together. I do not choose to be a common man. It's my right to be uncommon. If I can, I seek opportunity, not security. I do not wish to be a kept citizen, humbled and dulled by having the state look after me. I want to take the calculated risk, to dream and to build, to fail and to succeed. I refuse to barter incentive for a door. I prefer the challenges of life to the guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will not trade freedom for beneficence, nor my dignity for a handout. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any trait. It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act for myself, to enjoy the benefits of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, this with God's help I have done. Please, can we take this part again? It's my heritage to stand erect, proud and unafraid, to think and act for myself, to enjoy the benefits of my creations, and to face the world boldly and say, this with God's help I have done. Thank you and congratulations for taking this mantra. Now let's get back to class. Let's get back to our topic for the day. interesting topic: 12 common distractions and how to reclaim your focus. Are you struggling to stay focused in a world full of distractions? You're highly welcome to today's class because we are going to dive into 12 most common distractions that are draining your productivity, and we are going to provide actionable strategies to help you reclaim your focus. And in today's class, we are going to share practical tips that will help you stay on track, that will help you manage distractions, and help you achieve your goals with clarity. So, good people, don't miss this chance. Don't miss this chance to get insight that will transform your daily routine. You're highly welcome. Now, let's get to the next slide. Now, who am I and why should I take this topic? This will just give you a little brief about myself, Enobong Ekarika. I am a skilled productivity expert. I'm also a virtual assistant. I'm an author, and I'm known for my practical insight on managing time, boosting productivity, and achieving personal growth. And with a deep understanding of the challenges that professionals are facing today, not just in their personal life, but in today's fast-paced world. What happened? I'm here to help you as an individual and as teams to unlock your potentials through effective, focus strategies. Also, people, I have delivered impactful webinars. I've authored multiple books, and these books are on finance, on career success, and I continue to empower audiences, with actionable tools that will actually lead you to a more balanced life, to a more productive life. And good people, my sessions are always interactive, insightful, and full of real life tips that you can start applying immediately. That means get set for a wonderful time together. My focus for insights are on productivity and time management, personal growth and development, financial wellness. You're welcome once again. You're welcome once again. Now let's take this quote by an unknown. He says, "You can't do big things. You can't do big things if you're distracted by small things." This is so true and very valid. If you're easily distracted by small things, you can't do big things. You can't win. You can't win and you can't go places. You can't win. That means to go places, you must not be easily distracted by small things. You must not be easily distracted by small things. What is our webinar goals today? What are we gonna learn? We are going to identify 12 common distractions that are affecting your productivity. We are going to learn actionable strategies that will help you manage and reduce this distraction. And we are going to discover how you can build better focus for a more productive life. That's our goal for today's class. Now, we are going to put this into two categories: external distractions and internal distractions. And we will look at eight types or examples of external distractions and 4 types of internal distractions. I can tell you, external distractions are those ones that come in from external sources, from outside sources. They come in to distract, negatively impact our activities, and reduce our productivity. Now, the types of external distractions we are going to look at are social media scrolling, multitasking, smartphone notifications, email overload, cluttered workspace, noise and background distractions, browsing the internet, personal calls and texts. And we look at internal distractions like procrastinations, internal thoughts, unplanned breaks, and fatigue and lack of sleep. These are the 12 that we are going to look at together. Now, social media scrolling. I know a whole lot of us are guilty of this. Always on the social media, always busy scrolling from one thing to the other, one topic, one video, one post, one message to the other. I can tell you that social media scrolling, that consistent scrolling has an impact. For instance, social media platforms are designed to keep you engaged, through endless scrolling, likes, endless scrolling, endless likes, comments, and notifications. And this can lead to hours spent on unproductive browsing, as notifications from apps like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, they constantly compete for your attention. Now, platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, they are dressed to keep users engaged, just like I said. And these apps can trigger dopamine release, making you crave for more frequent engagement. What is an example? An example is like news feed. You start scrolling to check one update. Yes, I know a lot of us are guilty of that. Your intention was to check one update, but before you know it, you're checking two, three, four, five, six, seven. Okay, you start scrolling to check one update, and before you know it, 30 minutes have passed, watching videos or reading posts. Another example are notifications. Notification about a new comment or a like, it can lead you back to the app, okay, and where you end up browsing additional content. And then trend chasing. Social media trends or viral challenges can distract you into browsing for hours and chasing what's popular. That's what we mean by social media scrolling. Let's look at the next one. This slide says you will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. This is a quote by Winston Churchill. This is, emphasizing the power of living above distractions, emphasizing why we should, operate beyond a life of distractions. Let's take the quote again by Winston Churchill. You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks. Multitasking. This is another type of distractive attitude. You can see from the picture here, the lady, she's on call, she's on a phone making calls, she has a laptop with her, you know, she has her phone in her hands, she has a cup of tea on the table, then she has to-do list papers all over on the table, at the back, on the rope. Just look at her doing so much at the same time. Now, what do we mean by multitasking and how does it affect us? Trying to complete multiple tasks simultaneously it may seem efficient, but it actually reduces overall productivity. That means switching between tasks, it creates a cognitive load, that can slow down your thought process and making it harder for you to focus deeply, on any one task, and increasing the chances of making mistakes. That means multitasking might feel productive, but it often leads to reduced efficiency and often lower your quality of work, because The brain cannot fully focus on multiple tasks at once. So when you're switching, you lose time during what? Refocusing. Let's look at an example. An example is checking emails while in meetings. You try to stay engaged in a meeting while also reading emails, but at the end of the day, you miss important details in both activities. Then, listening to a podcast while writing an email, that's another example. This combination of tasks, requires focus in two areas, which will lead to errors or misunderstandings. And then number three example of multitasking is cooking while on a phone call. You're trying to multitask with cooking, and this can look, it can lead you to overcooked food or burnt meals or divided attention, which always increases mistakes. That's multitasking. Now let's look at smartphone notifications. Smartphone notifications. Now, whether it's a text, is a news alert, or a reminder, smartphone's notification will pull your attention away from what you are doing. If notification can cause you to lose focus, and studies shows that it takes several minutes to regain full concentration after each interruption. Now, and interestingly, apps are designed to send notifications for messages, for updates and promotions, often breaking our concentration. Now, examples of notifications are SMS alert. Every time you get a new message or group chat notification, it can pull you away from your focused work. News alert, constant breaking news updates can become a significant distraction, especially if they're on topics that sparks your curiosity. Another one is game app notification. Even non-essential games, they notify you to return and play, and this will always disrupt your focus with unnecessary alerts. Now, the next one is email overload. Email overload. Now, constantly checking and replying to emails, it can become a never-ending task. Yes, it can become a never-ending task. The flood of messages can create stress and distract you from more important tasks, especially if you feel compelled to respond immediately. Now, email interruptions also increase your decision fatigue, because you're forced to prioritize and respond continuously. Now, the need to check and respond to emails regularly, often across different devices, can create anxiety, and it can always create that overwhelming sense of responsibility. What are examples? Number one is just checking mails. That quick checks can turn into replies. It can lead to an ongoing conversation, that takes more time than you intended. Then, unread email anxiety is another example. Seeing an inbox with so many unread messages can create that sense of urgency, pulling you away from priority tasks. And then replying out of obligation. Responding is that is another example. And responding to emails can create a cycle where people expect quick replies, and perpetuating distractions. So this is another type of distraction, email overload. I love this quote by Tim Ferriss. Focus on being productive instead of busy. Focus on being productive instead of busy. Very interesting and very true. Very true. Cluttered workspace. Cluttered workspace. Now, see this young man. In fact, his workspace is so interesting. Very highly cluttered. This is a type of distraction on its own. Is a type of distraction on its own. Now, physical clutter creates this mental, it also creates mental clutter. A desk that is filled with unnecessary papers, items, and gadgets can make it difficult to focus, to concentrate. And the maze can distract you, visually and mentally, because your brain registers the disorganization, and this can subtly increase stress and reduce efficiency. Then that is physical clutter, just like I said earlier, not only affects your productivity but also cause stress and mental overload. It's very, very important. Now let's look at examples of clustered workplace. Piles of papers, unsorted papers and documents can catch your eye and remind you of other tasks, creating mental tension. Now, personal items on the desk is another example. Items like photo frames, books, or decorative items can pull your concentration away, especially during stressful moments. Another example is unorganized cables. Now, tangles of cables and chargers can create a visual maze that constantly distracts you and even complicates your workflow. That means a cluttered workspace is a disadvantage. Now, noise and background distractions. Noise and background distractions. Background noise, such as conversations, TV, or traffic sound, can be a constant source of distraction. And even low-level noise can break your concentration and reduce your productivity, and especially for tasks that require deep focus. That means for some people, for many, these noises trigger a stress response, that further distracts you from mental clarity. Now, examples of this are having TV or music in the background. Although some people work with music, lyrics, or high energy beats, this can disrupt your process, especially for tasks that are requiring verbal processing. Then household clutter. Family members, that's another example. Talking in the background can pull you out of deep concentration and shift your focus. Then another example are office sounds. Now, in office environments, printers, footsteps, phone conversations can create that interruption that will keep you from fully concentrating. Let's see the next one. Browsing the internet can also be a distraction. Browsing the internet. Now, the internet is a vast source of information but can easily lead to distractions. And a quick search can turn into hours of unrelated browsing because you're jumping from one topic to another. And now, this habit not only wastes your time but can also make you lose sight of your original task or goal. Okay? Now, example is one search leads to many. You start looking up something, maybe something work related, and you end up clicking on suggested links, and this will lead you to unrelated sites or articles. Another one is mindless surfing. This is where you browse random sites out of boredom, and also a way to procrastinate. It distracts you from pressing tasks. Then another form for internet scrolling, browsing, distractive activities, YouTube and video platform. Watching one video can easily turn into a session of binge watching and consuming hours of time that you could have spent on work. That's another form of distraction. I love this quote by Robert Collier. He says, success is a sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. Success is a sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. A quote by Robert Collier. Now let's look at another one. Personal calls and texts can also be a distraction. You can see this young man, he has an earphone with him, possibly listening to music. He's on a call with one of his phones at the same time, and at the same time he's sending text message with another phone. That's a very great way of causing distractions. Now, friends, families, or colleagues often reach out during work hours, and while this may feel like small interruptions, frequent personal calls and texts breaks your focus, requiring you to redirect your attention and thoughts before you can resume working productively. That means, and let's quickly look at some examples, like family member calls now. A relative calls during work hours, drawing you into a long conversation that actually derails your concentration. Or friends checking in. Friends texting to make plans can lead you into extensive discussion, interrupting your workflow, and then spam and sales call. These are even unwanted calls. It can disrupt your work, requiring time to block the number or adjust your settings. That is just one of them. Let's go to the next. Procrastination. Procrastination. You can see from the picture here, the lady is on a phone. She has 3 or 4 different books beside her, possibly procrastinating from reading the book to her phones. Now, what do we mean by that, and how does it affect us? How does it distract us? Delaying tasks in favor of less demanding activities is a common issue. And instead of focusing on high priority tasks, people often choose to tackle simpler, less important ones. And this always leads to wasted time and unnecessary stress as deadline approaches. Now, procrastination is often a way to avoid challenging tasks, by doing easier, less important ones instead. Now, what are examples of procrastination? Organizing your files instead of starting a project. Now, spending time organizing folders rather than starting a difficult task is a common way to avoid more demanding work. Another example is cleaning or tidying up as a delay tactics. Rearranging your desk or workplace may feel productive, but is often used as a way to do what? Put off essential tasks. Then another example of procrastination is when you're browsing research materials. Searching online for helpful resources, it can become a way to procrastinate if it goes beyond what's actually needed. That's for procrastination. Let's quickly look at this quote by an unknown. He says, when you focus on problems, you get more problems. When you focus on possibilities, you get more possibilities. Can we take this again? When you focus on problems, you get more problems. When you focus on possibilities, you get more possibilities. This is a very true quote by an unknown person. Now, see our young girl lost in thoughts, internal thoughts. Internal thoughts. That's another thing that distracts us. Sometimes distractions can come from within. Daydreaming, replaying past events, or worrying about the future can take your mind off the task at hand, and these internal thoughts reduce your focus and are often triggered by stress, by boredom, or by fatigue. Now, Thoughts can be distracting, especially when they involve replaying past events or worrying about future situations. Examples here are daydreaming. Daydreaming is when your mind wanders to weekend plans or to recent conversations, pulling you away from the task at hand. Another one is reliving past mistakes. Mentally replaying a past mistake, or awkward moment can become a distraction, and this will reduce your ability to stay focused on the present. And then stress and worry is another factor that can, internal factor, concerns about deadlines, personal relationships, or financial worries. They can pull you into negative thinking loops, making it hard for you to concentrate. Now let's get to the next slide. Unplanned breaks. Unplanned breaks. Now, unplanned breaks, what do you mean by that? Taking spontaneous breaks without a set schedule can disrupt your workflow. And while breaks are important for some people, unstructured ones can lead to longer and less productive breaks. And this will ultimately delay your progress and create a very choppy workflow. And then taking random breaks disrupt the natural flow of work, and it can make it hard for you to regain concentration. An example of this is getting up frequently for snacks. Grabbing snacks out of boredom can lead to repeated interruptions. Or walking away, another example is walking away to avoid hard tasks. You leave your workspace without planning, just to avoid starting a difficult project. Then another one is extended coffee breaks. That is, a quick coffee breaks can turn into 20 minutes of talking to colleagues or browsing your phone and disrupting your productivity. Fatigue and lack of sleep. You can see our young lady in the picture. She's trying to sleep. She has a laptop besides her. Fatigue and lack of sleep can be a source of distraction. And how does it happen? Exhaustion and lack of sleep will always reduce your ability to focus, solve problems and retain information. And when you're tired, even simple tasks can feel overwhelming, and this will always lead you to seek out distractions to avoid mentally tasking work and fully decreasing your productivity. Now, lack of proper rest will always significantly impact your focus, impact your memory, and impact your decision-making abilities. Example is tiredness that leads to poor focus, and that is when you're sleep deprived, what happens? Even small tasks seems harder. This will lead you to drift into distractions. And relying on caffeine is another example, because excessive caffeine leads to, the reason you're taking this caffeine is to fight fatigue. Now, it may temporarily boost your alertness, but it will often result in crashes. It will often result in reducing your productivity further. Then low mental energy is another example. Fatigue makes it harder to resist distractions, making you more prone to aimlessly browsing the web, checking social media, or mind wandering. I believe we've had value learning the interesting 12 types of distractions. We'll soon go into the next session, which is how to manage these distractions. How to manage these distractions. I love this quote by an unknown. He says, focus is the ability to say no to the distractions that are not aligned to your goals. Focus is the ability to say no to the distractions that are not aligned to your goals. I love that. This is a very true quote. Now, let's quickly look at strategies for managing external distractions. Strategies for managing external distractions. We are back to tackle distractions. We are back to tackle distractions. Let's take it one after the other. How do we tackle social media scrolling? How do we tackle distractions that are caused by social media scrolling? Number one is limit app usage. Set up limit times, set up limits or use features like screen time or digital well-being. That's an app on Android. Screen time is an app on iOS. This will help to restrict your social media use. Then number two, log out after each use. Now, logging out forces you to think before opening the app, and this will reduce impulsive scrolling. Another method you can manage social media scrolling is designate social media times. Allow yourself only certain times of the day, like lunch break or after work, for social media. Then use another one is use website blockers. That means extensions like Stay Focused. It can help you to block social media site during work hours, and this will help you to stay focused. And then turn off notifications. Disable social media notifications, and this will help you to avoid constant alert which are pulling your attention away. That is interesting. I hope we've had value on how we can manage external distractions, that social media scrolling. Now, how do we manage smartphone notifications? Distraction caused by smartphone notifications. Now, we said enable do not disturb mode, okay? Enable do not disturb mode on your phone. Silence all notifications during focus period, and this will allow only calls from key contacts. Then set notification priorities. That means you should customize your notifications to receive alerts only for essential messages, calls, or apps. Then use app notification settings. Turn off non-urgent notifications for apps like games, shopping, and social media. Then another thing that's so interesting is that you can place your phone in another room. Keeping your phone out of reach often reduces the temptation to check it frequently. And then schedule phone checks. Set specific times to check your phone, minimizing interruptions throughout the day. I believe we've had value on how to manage distractions caused by smartphone notifications. This is another quote by Walt Disney. The way to get started is to quit talking and start doing. The way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing. That means we have to begin taking these strategies very, very importantly. Take them up, utilize them, and maximize your efficiency. Wow, I can imagine how much workload is in front of this young man. Now we are looking at email overload. What are the strategies to manage email overload? What are the strategies to manage email overload? Batch your emails. That means limit email checks to 2 or 3 times a day. You can have a time like morning, midday, and end of the day. This will reduce constant inbox checking. Then turn off email notifications. Disable desktop and phone notifications for email, to avoid that frequent interruptions. And then organize with filters and folders. Automatically filter emails, okay, into folders based on priority so that you can only see urgent ones immediately. And then set boundaries with colleagues. Inform colleagues of your response time. Reduce that expectation for immediate replies. And then you can use templates for common replies. You can draft template for frequently asked questions, enabling faster email responses. This is another quote by an unknown. He says, distractions will always be there, but you can choose to keep your eyes on your goals. Distractions will always be there, but you can choose to keep your eyes on your goals. Now, cluttered workspace. Cluttered workspace. This is another one. How do we handle the declutter daily? Declutter daily. Spend 5 to 10 minutes each day, tidying your workspace, removing unnecessary items. Then use organizers, invest in drawer organizers, pen holders, file folders to keep your space neat. And then keep only essentials on your desk. Limit your workspace to items you use frequently, and such as computer, notebooks, and pens. And then have a weekly reset day. Okay, dedicate time once a week to clean up accumulated clutter or rearrange your items if necessary. Then add a minimalist touch. Place one calming object like a plant to add visual appeal without cluttering your desk. Noise and background distractions. How do we handle noise and background distractions? Use noise cancellation headphones. Block out background noise. Block out background noise, with noise cancellation headphones or earplugs. And then there's what we call white music or calm music. Use apps like brain.fm or Spotify to play non-distracting background music. Then another option is politely set boundaries. Politely set boundaries. How do we do that? Let those around you know your work hours. Signal them when you're unavailable for conversations. And then find a quiet work spot. If possible, choose a quiet, scheduled, spot for work, and this will help to minimize interruptions. Then use a do not disturb sign. A physical sign can subtly remind others to avoid interrupting when you're focusing. That's very true and very, very interesting. Browsing day internet. Browsing the internet. Browsing the internet. What are the ways we can manage it? The ways we can manage it are: number one, set time limit. You should have specific time. Okay, this is a time for internet, and after this time I'm not going online. Another one is use focused work sessions. You should have specific time of the day, specific time of your work life, that okay, this is what I'll do at this time. By 12 to 1 a.m. is for calls. By then I'll get back to work from 1:15 to 3 p.m. Then from 3 p.m. to 3:40, browsing the internet. You can use focused work sessions, okay? Then designate browsing times. You should have specific times that will help you, focus for browsing, and times to focus on work. Then remove tempting bookmarks. Remove tempting bookmarks on your system, on your phone, on your laptop. It will help to reduce you know the temptation to be distracted by this. Then you mindful use of internet. Mindful, that's another interesting way. Now let's look at personal calls and text messages. How do we handle that? Turn off, set your phone to do not disturb mode. Inform your close contact of your focus hours and use a work-only device or account, and then turn off non-essential notifications. Turn off non-essential notifications. Very, very important strategies that will help you to handle, distractions that come via personal calls and text messages. Another one is unplanned breaks. Unplanned breaks. What are the ways we can handle unplanned breaks? Number one, set clear boundaries for work time. Example, let your colleagues, families, or roommates know your work hours and ask them not to interrupt unless it's urgent. Tips are: use signs such as do not disturb indicator on your desk or door, or signal when you are in a focused work mode. Then plan regular breaks to prevent burnout. We learnt about the Pomodoro technique. Use it when you work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, or you try 90-minute work blocks followed by a 15-minute break. Now, planned breaks give your brain the chance to rest, and this will reduce that likelihood that you take unplanned ones. Then keep essential items nearby. Keep essential items nearby. Example, if you often get up for water, snacks, or other small items, keep them within reach on your desk. And having everything you need nearby reduces the need to get up frequently, helping you to maintain focus for longer periods. For example, I always have my water nearby. I always have my water nearby. Very helpful. It helps a whole lot. Now, another one is address root causes of distractions. For example, if you're taking breaks due to mental fatigue, try starting the day with the most demanding tasks, when you're freshest, and then pay attention to patterns, okay, in your unplanned breaks. Are they due to stress? Are they due to boredom? Or are they due to fatigue? Addressing this can actually reduce the urge for spontaneous breaks. Then use a parking lot for distraction. I love this. Using a parking lot for distraction. What does that mean? Keep a notebook or a digital notepad where you can jot down random thoughts. I do that a lot. Okay? Keep a notepad, a notebook or digital notepad where you can jot down random thoughts, to-do lists or ideas that come up during work. And then writing down this will help you to let go of the distraction without needing to take on an immediate break. I hope you are having value. Please put in the chat box value. Put in the chat box value. I am having value. Thank you. Okay, this is another wonderful quote by an unknown. It says, the longer you wait for the perfect moment, the more likely you are to be distracted. The longer you're waiting for the perfect moment, the more likely you are to be distracted. That means you should take up action right away to avoid distractions. That's good. Let's get to the next slide. Okay, now for multitasking. How do you handle multitasking? What are the strategies to manage multitasking? Number one, focus on one task at a time. Dedicate your attention to one task, only switching once you've completed it. Then number two, use the Pomodoro technique we talked about earlier. Work for a set time, followed by a short break. Get back to work, followed by a short break. Other one is create a task hierarchy. Prioritize your tasks, starting with the most critical ones, to ensure that you focus on top priorities. Then batch similar tasks together. Group related tasks like emails or calls and complete them in dedicated block. And then set daily task goals. Okay, set daily task goals. Now let's get to the next slide. Procrastination. Number one way is break your tasks into smaller steps. Break your tasks into smaller steps. It will help you avoid procrastination. Then use a timer for short bursts of job. Then please reward yourself. Reward yourself for task completion and always visualize the end result. This will serve as a drive, as a motivation for you to proceed, for you to push towards achieving and fulfilling your targets. Set deadlines for yourself. Set deadlines for yourself, very important. How do we manage internal thoughts? How do we manage internal thoughts? Practice mindfulness. How do we do that? Use mindfulness techniques like deep breathing to bring your attention back to the present moment. And then keep a notepad nearby. I always have a notepad. I always have something. Write down distracting thoughts as they arise so that you can revisit them later without losing focus. And then schedule worry time. How? What do you mean by that? How do we do that? Designate time for personal thoughts, allow you to set time aside while working. And then acknowledge and redirect. What do we mean by that? When your mind wanders, gently acknowledge it and then redirect your focus back to your task. And then use a focus mantra. For example, you can develop a simple phrase like back to work, back to work, back to work, back to work. So repeat it whenever you notice your mind drifting. That is for the focus mantra. And now the last but not the least, how do we manage fatigue and lack of sleep? Distractions caused by fatigue and lack of sleep. Number one, establish a sleep routine. That means you should aim for consistent sleep schedule, with relaxing pre-bed routine to improve your sleep quality. Then also take power naps when needed. You know, a short nap, 15 to 20 minutes, can boost your energy and help to restore your focus. And then incorporate physical activity. Walk, short walks or light stretching, stretch, 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 stretch. It can help to rejuvenate your energy levels, and when you're feeling sluggish. And then stay hydrated and eat well. Please stay hydrated. Stay hydrated. Eat balanced meals to maintain steady energy throughout the day. And then finally, schedule high impact tasks in the morning. Complete complex tasks, early, when your energy levels are typically highest. Let's get to the next slide. This session is for you, awesome people. Please, I need your answers in the chat box. Put your answers in the chat box. Number one is, how can I stop constantly checking my phone during work? Please put the answer in the chat box. Number two, what's a good way to handle social media distractions? Number three, how can I manage distractions when working in a noisy environment? And number four, is multitasking really that bad for productivity? Please put in the chat box, identify the number and your answer. There's a gift for whoever gives us very good answer. And then, what's the best way to handle internal thoughts that affect my focus? I believe we had an awesome time. You can reach me via my email, Enobong Ekarika1@gmail.com. Thank you, awesome people. Thank you, and do have a blessed day. Just know I appreciate you. You're very important and special to me. Take care of yourself and have a blast.